good morning all of you, and today we will discuss about unit 2. Our topic is service level agreement. In this agreement, basically we will discuss about what is SLA, web service of SLA, types of SLA, and what are the use of the SLA. Okay, let's start with the SLA. So what is service level agreement? Service level agreement is basically a formal contract between a service provider, which is like the Netflix and the Amazon Prime, etc., and a service consumer like us. SLA, foundation of the consumer trust in the provider. That is the legal agreement between both of them. For example, if you purchase new things and you have a signing on that particular form, so that is the agreement between both of provider and consumer. Purpose: to define a formal basis for performance and availability of the SP guarantees to deliver. SLA contain service level objective, that's we call that SLO, objectively measurable condition for the service. SLO and SLA, basic of selection of the cloud provider. So what are the content in the SLA? In the SLA, a set of services which the provider will deliver a complete specific definition of each service, the responsibility of the provider and the consumer, a set of metrics to measure whether the provider is offering the service as guaranteed, an auditing mechanism to monitor the services, the remedies available to the consumer and provider if the terms are not satisfied, and how the SLA will change over time. So what is wave service SLA? That is the WS agreement, wave service agreement, XML based language and protocol for negotiating, establishing and managing service agreement at runtime. Specify the nature of agreement template, facilitate in discovering compatible provider, interaction like request response, SLA violation if they are dynamically managed and verified. What is WSALA? WSALA like wave service level agreement framework. In this framework, the formal XML scheme based language to express SLA and runtime interpreter. Next is measure and monitor QoS parameter, quality of service parameters and report violation. Lack of formal definition for semantic of matrices. So what is the difference between SLA and cloud SLA and wave service SLA? Like QoS parameters, quality of service parameter, like traditional wave service, they are using the response time, SLA violation rate for reliability, availability, cost of service, etc., etc. But in the cloud computing SLA, the quality of service related to the security, privacy, trust and management of services, etc. Next we into the automation. In the traditional wave services, SLA negotiation, provisioning, service delivery, monitoring are not automated. And the cloud computing, SLA automation is required for highly dynamic and scalable service consumption. Resource allocation. Traditionally wave service UDDI, like universal description, discovery and the integration, for advertising and discovering between the wave services. But in the cloud computing, resources are allocated and distributed globally without any central directory. So what type of SLA? Present market place future two types of SLA. First, off the self SLA or non-negotiable SLA or direct SLA. So non-conductive for mission critical or application. Provider create the SLA template and define all criteria, contract period, billing, response time, availability, etc. followed by the present day state of the art cloud. Negotiable SLA. Negotiation by external agent. Negotiation by multiple external agent. Next, service level objective. Objectively measurable condition for the services. Encompass multiple QoS parameters: availability, serviceability, billing, penalties, throughput, response time or quality. Example, availability of a service is exceeds 99.9%. Response time of the database query is between 3 to 5 seconds. And the throughput of the server S at peak load time is 0.87 or 5. Okay. So that is the three basic parameter which is using into the SLO. SLM, monitoring and measuring performance service based on the SLO, like throughput, like time, like load. Provide perspective, make decision based on business objective and technical realities. Consumer perspective, decision about how to use cloud services. What type of consideration for the SLA? Business level objective, consumer should know why they are using cloud services before they decide how to use cloud computing. Responsibilities of the provider and consumer. The balance of responsibility between provider and the consumer will vary according to the type of the services. Business continuity and the disaster recovery, that the consumer is using the business continuity, and if there are any disaster covered, then they are recovered that disaster. Provider have an adequate protection in the case of the disaster. System redundancy, many cloud providers deliver their service via massively redundant system. Those systems are designed so that even if hard drive or network connection or server fails, consumer will not experience any outrage. Maintenance of cloud infrastructure affect any kind of cloud offering applicable to both software and the hardware. If cloud service provider promise to enforce data location regulation, the consumer must be able to audit the provider to prove the regulation of the being followed. Seizure of the data. If law enforcement target the data and application associated with a particular consumer, the multi-tenant nature of the cloud computing make it likely that other consumer will be affected. Therefore, the consumer should consider using a third party to keep backups of their data. Failure of the provider. Consumers should consider the financial health of their provider and make contingency plan. The provider policies of handling data and application of the consumer whose account is delinquent or under dispute are to be considered. Jurisdiction, consumers should understand laws that apply to any cloud provider they consider. What kind of requirement are there? So security, that the main issue of is security of any cloud service provider. Cloud consumer must understand the control and federation pattern necessary to meet the security requirements. Provider must understand what they should deliver to enable the appropriate control and federation pattern. What is data encryption and privacy? Detail of encryption and access control policies. Isolation of the customer data in a multi-tenant environment. Data retention and deletion. Some cloud providers have legal requirement of retaining data even if it has deleted by the consumer, hence they must be able to prove their compatibility with these policies. Hardware erasure and the destruction. Provider required to zero out the memory if consumer power off of the VM, or even zero out of pattern of the disk if it is to display, dispose or recycle. Regulatory compliance, transparency. There is in the regular way there is a compliance of the report. There is a very transparency, anything not breached. Certification, the provider should be responsible providing the certificate of any kind of application that keeping it up to date. So monitor all the information, all the conflict of interest between the provider and the consumer. A neutral third party organization is the best solution to monitor performance. Auditability, as the consumers are liable to any breach that occur, it is vital that they should be able to audit provider system and procedure, and SLA should make it clear how and when those audits take place, because audits are disruptive and expensive. The provider will most likely place limits on charge on them. What is KPI? KPI is basically information about performance indicator. So that is low level resource matrix. Multiple KPI are composed, aggregated or converted to the high level SLO. Downtime, uptime, in bytes, out byte, packet size, etc. Possible mapping, availability is equals to 1 minus downtime upon uptime. So what that is the availability of resources. What is the industry defined KPIs? Industry defined KPI like monitoring and auditability. Monitoring just like the who should monitor the performance of the provider, does the consumer meet its responsibility, and the solution is basically neutral third party organization to perform monitoring, which is neutral. There is not consumer side, not provider side, but it is the basic on third party. Eliminate conflict of interest. If provider report outage, it is sole discretion, consumer is responsible to the outage. Consumer requirement, if the provider adhering to legal regulation, an SLA should make it clear how and when to conduct audit. Okay. So what kind of metrics for monitoring and auditing? In the metrics, basically we have to evaluate the resources, evaluate the services. So first one metrics is throughput. Throughput, it means how quickly the service respond. For example, if you want to open a Gmail and Gmail is trying to open is lot of time, so the consumer distracted from this. Okay, so throughput is basically that is the need of today's scenario. Availability, represented as a percentage of uptime for a service in a given observation period. Reliability, how often the service is available. Load balancing, when electricity kicks in, new VM are booted or terminated, for example. Durability, how likely the data is to be lost. Elasticity, the ability for a given resources to grow infinitely with limits. The maximum amount of storage bandwidth, for example, clearly started. And linearity, how a system performs as the load increased. Agility, how the new consumer resources load scale up and down, how quickly they are provided. Automation, what percentage of requests to the provider are handled without any human interaction. Customer service response time, what are the response time and how quickly the provider respond to a service request. This is basically the human interaction required when something goes wrong with the on-demand self-service expect the role. Service level violation rate, there is no violation rate if they are expressed as the mean rate of SLA violation due to infringements of the agreed warranty level. Transaction time that has elapsed from when a service is invoked till the completion of the transaction including the delays. Resolution time, time period between detection of a service problem and its resolution. Okay, so these are the some matrices which is required for today's scenarios. Okay, SLA requirement with respect to the cloud delivery model. Okay, so requirement, these are the some requirement here. These are the platform as a service, PaaS, IaaS and SaaS. Data encryption valid in both of them. Privacy in both of them. Data retention in both of them. Hardware erasure restriction, both of them. Regulatory compliance, all threes. Transparency, all threes. Certification, all threes. KPI on tools, infra and software. Matrices, all threes. Auditability, all threes. Monitoring, all threes. Or machine readable SLA only in the IaaS. So these are the requirement for the SLA which already we have discussed in the previous slides. So these are the basic need for any cloud delivery mode. So these are the some example of the cloud service level agreement. First, cloud provider is Amazon. Amazon is provided three kind of services: EC2, S3 or Simple DB. EC2 is belongs to infra as a service and that is availability is 99.95%. Service year 365 days of the year, annual percentage, uptime, regen, unavailability, no external connectivity during the 5-minute period, eligible credit period or service credit. S3 storage as a service, availability 99.9% with the following error rates, monthly uptime percentage, service credit. Simple DB, database as a service, no specific SLA is defined and the agreement does not guarantee availability. Next cloud provider is Salesforce. Salesforce CRM, that is provided the pass, no SLA guarantee of the service provider. Google provided the Google App Engine. Google App Engine have a lot of services are there, different kind of services we can using in the Google App Engine, that is also working on the PaaS, platform as a service. This availability is basically is 99.9%. Error rate, error request, monthly uptime percentage, schedule maintenance, service credit at SLA exclusive. Microsoft have a two, Microsoft Azure Complete and Microsoft Azure Storage. Azure Compute, IaaS, PaaS or SaaS storage as a service. That is also 99.95%. Azure Storage is 19.9%. Zoho Suite, Zoho Mail, Zoho CRM, Zoho Book is SaaS, software as a service. Allow the user to customize the service legal agreement, guaranteed based on resolution time, business hour and support plus and escalation. Rackspace, that is cloud server, that is belongs to the IaaS. Internal network, that is 100% or external network is basically 99.9%. Terramark, vCloud Express, IaaS, monthly uptime percentage this, service credit, credit request, payment procedure and SLA exclusion are there. Nirvanix, services, public, private, hybrid cloud storage, storage as a service, monthly availability percentage is 99.9%. That is also credit procedure and all are included here. So what kind of limitation are there? Limitation is very important criteria. Service measurement restricted to uptime percentage measured by taking the mean of the service availability observed over a specific period of time. Ignore other parameters like stability and the capacity. Measurement of parameters are mostly established according to the vendor advantage. Customer are given access to some ticketing system and are responsible for monitoring the outage. Provider do not provide any access to active data, stream or audit trail, nor do they report any outrage. Gap between QoS, hype and SLA offering in reality. QoS in the areas of governance, reliability, availability, security and scalability are not well addressed. No formal ways of verifying if the SLA guaranteed are complying or not. Proper SLA are good for both provider as well as the customer. Provider perspective, improve upon cloud infra, fair competition in cloud. Customer perspective, trust relationship with the provider, choosing appropriate provider for moving respective business to cloud. What kind of expected SLA parameters? Infra as a service, CPU capacity, cache memory size, boot time, scale down, on-demand availability, scale up time, scale down time, auto scaling, maximum number of VM. So these are information are belonging to the IaaS. Platform like integration, scalability, billing, deploy, license, page, version, upgradation, server, browser, number of developers are there. Software as a service, reliability, usability, scalability, availability, customizability or response time. Storage like storage, geography location, scalability, storage space, storage, billing, security, privacy, backup, fault tolerance, system throughput, transferring bandwidth, data life cycle management. So these are the some parameters which is included into the SLA. So these are the some references included in this cloud computing, like they are the 3 books and some of the websites are there. So if you have any query regarding any thing, just mail me my mail ID gupta pradeep@akgc.ac.in. Thank you very much.